It's a paradise, this country that we live in. When we compare with other countries and how them people suffering, things could be worse. We must agree that we Belgians really making the best country.
So I was actually born in Queen Elizabeth's Hospital in 1979. So I was told by my parents. We then moved to, I grew up for my first 2 years in Regency Park in Barbados, in Christchurch. And then my parents and I moved to Rowan, St. George when I was 2 years old. And that's where my parents still live to this day. And I lived there until I left. Well, I started with Happy Vale, Montessori. Got big up to Happy Vale. And then from there I went to primary school at St. Gabriel's. I started common entrance in 1990. Actually, that year I actually came first amongst the boys. Myself and Neil Ben, who's a good friend of mine, who lives in France now. And we both went to Harrison College along with many others. That's where I met some of my greatest friends. We're still my friends to this date. I did CXC in 1995. I did A-levels in 1997. Then I left Barbados and I went to medical school at Mona, University of West Indies in Jamaica from 1997 to 2002. At that time, internship was still 18 months, so which I did in Jamaica. And then I got into the postgraduate surgical program and I did my residency from 2004 to 2010. I had a small stint for about 3 months in Barbados at the QH under Maurice Waldron, who's actually a good friend of mine too, great guy. And then I became a consultant in 2010. Now I'm a consultant for like 10 years. I am in charge of postgrad and undergraduate studies at my hospital, which is the largest English-speaking hospital in the Caribbean. I'm also an associate lecturer and an examiner in surgery in the Faculty of Medical Sciences at Mona. My family household was a little bit small because I'm an only child. So it was my parents. My father is Jamaican. My mother is Barbadian. My father actually doesn't have any family in Barbados, but my mother is a Millington before she was married. So if anybody knows, the Millington family is quite extensive. So Christmas and Easter and any holidays were a big affair, especially my extended family. My grandfather, I think he died in 1987. So my grandmother was the matriarch of the family, and we always had Christmas dinners at my house or her house up to 1999 until when she died. That would consist of my mom, my dad, myself, my first cousin Niles Robertson, his mom Janice Millington, may she rest in peace, as well as my uncle Jimmy Millington and my grandmother. And then usually sometimes my mom's half brother, Uncle Ivan, would come, as well as some other family members and some of my friends from high school will come across usually. You know what happens in Christmas in Barbados? A lot of my Jamaican relatives, actually some of them were living in Barbados towards the end of my high school era, and a lot of them actually moved out of Jamaica. But I went on campus and I lived on hall for my first 4.5 years of Jamaican life. And I think the good thing about living on campus is that no one cares where you come from. Everybody is created equal. Everybody is treated equally. You don't care if you're black, you're white, you're rich, you're poor. Everybody's treated equally, and you make a lot of good friends. Like in high school, you make a lot of good friends on campus as well. Barbados has grown over the years. Well, it significantly has grown. I get to go back to Barbados because of my business and because of my family and my friends about at least 3 or 4 times a year. But every time I go back, something new is being built. There's certainly a lot of development that's happened in the Warrens area, the South Coast. I still think that we still have some infrastructural development is still needed, especially in the roads, because I think that we are a pretty dense population, especially on the southern and the western coast of the island. But I think Barbados should be proud because of advances in infrastructure and technology is occurring. I think, but the best thing that Barbados does have are the human resources. The people are great. We have a rich culture, something that I even more appreciate now that I'm abroad. And even something as little bit as the fact that all of the beaches in Barbados are free and they have public access and they're all beautiful and gorgeous is something that we should never take for granted. Even living in a country like Jamaica, you still have to pay to go to some public beaches, even though it is relatively cheap. Just a mere fact that you know that you have to fork out money sometimes to go to the beach. And I mean, it's a different experience. You don't really want to compare one to the other. But Barbados is, I think it has grown significantly. I think where Barbados also is growing well is in the entertainment industry. Because I'm a part of it to some degree, or I contribute to some degree. We're no longer being compared to each other or within the island. We're being compared to the other carnivals and other events that are going on throughout the region and worldwide. And I still think that we are up there as being one of the best. That being said, we can't rest on our laurels, and we still need development to keep ourselves at that point or even get better. What advice do I have for young people? Well, I'm a perfect example of where I am professionally trained to be a surgeon, and I have no professional training to be a promoter. But both of my jobs have been, I guess, successful based on where I am as a surgeon and where my business in Barbados has gone. I think as long as you put your head into something and you really have a passion for it, you should do well. I love my job as a surgeon. When I have to get up to go and see patients, go and operate, it's something that I like to do. And I think because of that, it makes it easier to do it. So I'm fortunate in that aspect. And also when I started the company, Bliss Entertainment, and Bliss with my two friends, we never had any idea that I would have gone to where it is. We wanted it together, but we really had no idea. And it was really a big learning curve that we all had to go through, because none of us did any degrees in business or promotional marketing. But we were passionate about it. We were three intelligent people. We got together, we got advice from older folk who were in the business. We got advice from our friends. Sometimes the advice was very critical, sometimes it was hurtful. And we have gone through some struggles as well. But as long as you trust the process and you believe in yourself, just take it out. But you gotta make sure that you put in the work. In both of my jobs, I put in the work. You know, you have to, if you gotta work for 8 hours, you gotta say, all right, well, I'm gonna do 9 hours of substantial work. And don't let anyone tell you no. Respect the decision of no, but don't just settle for no. Try to figure out how you can get something done if someone tells you no, by figuring out ways to get it achieved. Yeah, so I'd like to thank my parents, my family, my friends, my teachers at all levels in Barbados, for helping me to achieve what I've achieved so far, for helping me to make the mark. Thank you very much.
Things could be worse, I must agree that we both are really making the best country.